Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again to the Forum's seminar series. To begin with, this year we started our first seminar on 8th Jan in Kolkata. We have initiated a lot of regional chapters where we have started this type of programs for our members who are based outside Mumbai. Yes, of course, they can view us with the help of a webinar on your smartphones, on your laptop and everything. But we feel that going personally, taking regulators, taking speakers over there, becomes more cost effective, becomes giving them more approach to the speaker. That was the whole idea. So the first seminar we did was on SEBI rules and regulation, which happened in Kolkata. The second seminar with the help of BSE. Of course, the topic of arbitration, which is again much of importance to our member brokers, so we thought, why don't we touch this topic, followed by a seminar on PMLA and GST. That is the schedule for January, and February shortly will be out. So for arbitration mechanism, we are thankful for BSE, we are thankful for Ravindra Palande, who has come over here. He is the AGM of Investor Services, who is going to run you through the presentation for an hour, and of course followed by Q&A by 5:30 onwards till 6 o'clock. So that is the basic nature of our seminars. On that note, please welcome Mr. Ravindra Palande.
Thank you, SP. Before I start, let me introduce myself. My name is Ravindra Palande. I am working with Bombay Stock Exchange since last 18 years. Out of these 18 years, almost for 10 years, I am handling the portfolio of investor complaints against trading members, arbitration, investor complaints against listed companies, and defaulters related matters. Today, I will take you through the presentation on the important part of this portfolio, that is arbitration. When we will proceed with the presentation, I will touch upon various aspects of arbitration which are important from the member's perspective, from the day-to-day operations. Plus, I will touch upon the regulatory aspect of the arbitration mechanism and the initiatives taken by SEBI from time to time. I would like to tell one thing here, that is the arbitration mechanism which we see today. It is a very much well-established mechanism, having faith of lot of every intermediary. The credit goes to SEBI for that. I will give that credit to SEBI because SEBI has periodically reviewed this whole mechanism. They have analyzed the effectiveness of this mechanism from time to time and brought various changes and introduced various policy and procedures, new policies and procedures into this system, and ensure that this mechanism is strengthened and give the best result for which it is intended. So, and secondly, I sincerely thank BSE Broker Forum for arranging this seminar because they are the one who are always in the forefront to arrange such seminars, and by which we can share our knowledge and our experience with each other on face-to-face basis. Otherwise, nowadays we work from our offices and sitting behind the computers, everything is system process driven. So there are very few manual interactions happening, and I think as far as this area is concerned, we need to discuss the aspects of arbitration mechanism on face-to-face basis. So I will start with the presentation. As Rispi has said, after completion of presentation, if you have any queries on the arbitration mechanism, you are free to ask those queries. And that is how today's seminar is arranged. So let us start with the presentation. Up to 2009, there were only 4 metros where arbitration was conducted. As I said earlier, I always give credit to SEBI for improving this system. The first aspect of that, I am coming to this geographical distribution of the arbitration centers. You can see there are 14 regional centers spread across entire country today. Otherwise, what was happening up to 2009, the investors from entire country have to approach only 4 metro cities for their grievances and filing arbitration cases. In 2009 onward, from 2009 onwards, SEBI has directed stock exchanges to introduce and start new investor service centers at the places other than the 4 metro cities. And the result is in front of you. There are today 14 regional centers where arbitration and IGRC mechanism is conducted. As I said, this is a very investor-friendly measures. Throughout the presentation, you will see there are various investor-friendly measures taken by SEBI. Of course, because it is the first motto, the motto of SEBI is to protect the investors and their rights and convenience, and see their convenience. In order to see the convenience, this is the geographical distribution which is today, where investor service centers are spread across 14 regional centers. Now, very basic questions. Why we need arbitration? Because today there are around 2 lakh UCC retail clients who trade on exchanges on a daily basis, through around 1200 members who are registered with the BSE. Now, there will not be a scenario where there will not be any dispute for those trades which happens every day. There cannot be a scenario that everything goes fine. It is not possible. So if dispute arises, there should be a mechanism to resolve that dispute. And there the need of arbitration comes. So we need arbitration for amicably and resolve the dispute in the best possible manner, in a convenient manner which is suitable to both the parties. And there, because of that, the arbitration is required. Now next is, who can file the arbitration? Under rules, bylaws, regulations, the arbitration which is conducted at BSE is between member and non-member. Any client having any claim against the trading member can file the arbitration. But if any member is having any claim against the client, he can also file the arbitration. So it is a facility for both client as well as the member. Now next question is, where can be filed? When I say where can be filed means the place where arbitration can be filed. As per SEBI circular, the arbitration can be filed at the last address which is registered by the client in his UCC with the trading member. The nearest regional center, which is to the address which he has registered with the member, he can go and file the arbitration. Member can file arbitration at his registered or correspondence address. That is why that is where this is on the place of the arbitration to be filed. Now let us come to the whole mechanism. As you can see, it is a time-bound mechanism. When I say time-bound, when we proceed with the next slides, I will explain you how it is time-bound and the role of SEBI in making this mechanism time-bound. Quasi-judicial mechanism. Entire arbitration which is conducted at BSE is governed by Arbitration and Conciliation Act 1996. Earlier, Arbitration and Conciliation Act 1940 was replaced, and this new act has been put in place. Exchange role restricted to secretarial assistance. Now, as far as we are concerned, as an exchange, we purposely follow this in later and spirit. In the sense, we keep arm's length with the arbitration decision making. Exchange only provides secretarial assistance to the arbitrators and the parties to the arbitration. Exchange officials do not participate in the decision making, and that is followed very strictly. Next one is award binding on parties. Because it is quasi-judicial and governed under Arbitration and Conciliation Act, the arbitration award which is finalized at stock exchange is binding on the parties. It is a two-tier mechanism. Two-tier means there is a lower bench arbitration and then there is an appeal mechanism. If you are not happy with the award given by the lower bench, you can file an appeal. There is a provision for appeal. Now I will explain you the legal framework under which this mechanism works. There is section 9 of SCRA, Securities Contract Regulation Act, which empowers the stock exchange to formulate the bylaws, frame the bylaws on arbitration. These bylaws are sent to SEBI for approval, and after SEBI approves those bylaws, they are published in the Gazette of India. Once they are published in the Gazette of India, they are become operational. So it has got a statutory recognition. So that is the reason why the bylaws of the stock exchange are statutory in nature, and this has been held by various court orders by High Courts and Supreme Courts. Entire arbitration under stock exchange mechanism is a statutory mechanism. Now we will come to the provisions of the important provisions of Arbitration and Conciliation Act 1996. When we talk about the legal framework, this is the act under which the whole mechanism works. This is a general act, this is a general law, but there are certain provisions, specific provisions, sections which are connected directly with the arbitration which is conducted in stock exchange. I will just go through those provisions. There is section 9. Section 9 says that when there is an arbitration proceeding going on or an arbitration award is finalized, at both the stages, the parties can approach the High Court for interim reliefs. There are certain specific scenarios for which parties can approach the stock exchange, parties can approach the court and pray for interim reliefs. Which are those scenarios? I will take you through that one by one. First, for appointment of a guardian for a minor or person of an unsound mind for the purpose of arbitral proceedings. Next, securing the amount in dispute in the arbitration. Suppose he feels the amount which is involved in the arbitration is not secured. He can obtain an interim order from the court to secure that amount. Next, for an interim measure for preservation, interim custody or sale of any goods which are the subject matter of arbitration. Again, this is protection of his rights, protection of his money. He wants to secure that money. For that purpose, he can go and approach the court. Next, straight away securing the amount in dispute in the arbitration. And next to that is the detention, preservation or inspection of any property or thing which is the subject matter of the dispute in arbitration. Suppose he wants to inspect any property or any asset which is the subject matter of arbitration, he can do that by under the court order. So this is the important section, section 9. Then there is a section 34 which I think you all must be aware of this section, section 34. Because this is the section which is utilized in day-to-day, in the normal course of arbitration proceeding by all the parties. This section specifies that any party who is not happy with the arbitration award given by the stock exchange, they can file appeal arbitration petition before the Honorable High Court of the relevant jurisdiction. Then there is section 36. Section 36 talks about the finality and enforcement of the order under section 34. Section 36 specifies the stage at which the arbitration award, the order passed under section 34 has reached finality. Then there is section 37. Under section 37, the party can file an appeal against the order which is passed under section 34. Under section 34, the order is passed by the single judge of the High Court. And under section 37, he can approach the division bench. So this is again the two-tier mechanism within the court, under the legal framework. Now we will come to the various steps involved in the arbitration mechanism. These are important steps which are important from the operational point of view for handling the day-to-day handling the actual arbitration cases by your team who is handling the arbitration. First stage is of course filing the arbitration claim. Next one is appointment of arbitrators. I will discuss these steps in detail in the next slides. Then there is a hearing by the arbitrators, as you know. Then there is award which is finalized and the implementation of award. These are the 5 major steps which are involved in the arbitration which are conducted at stock exchanges. Now, as I told you earlier, the whole credit goes to SEBI for strengthening this whole mechanism. When I say that, I divide the period between 2 parts. One is prior to 2010 and after 2010. Why? Because up to 2010, there are not so many circulars or there are no so many policy decisions which have come from SEBI on arbitration specifically. There are very few circulars which are followed. But after 2010, especially this circular, which is of 11th August 2010, SEBI has revamped the entire arbitration mechanism. I will take you to each and every point of this circular, every clause, every aspect of this circular, one by one. Before doing this exercise, SEBI has taken lot of data from stock exchanges. They periodically take various data, they review that data and they analyze that information. After analyzing and review of that data, they come out with the policy decisions. We periodically provide all this data to SEBI on various parameters, and the result comes in the form of such circulars which change the whole mechanism and which brings out the actual effectiveness of the mechanism for the parties. So first, under this circular, SEBI has specified the timelines because as I told you earlier, this is a time-bound mechanism and the timelines are coming here. For each and every step, for each and every activity, there are timelines. It is not that you have filed arbitration and stock exchange is doing on its own, taking its own time to finish the arbitration. No, it is not like that. If we don't follow these timelines, we are being audited and we are answerable for that lapses. So first and most important part is that the day on which you file the arbitration, within 30 days from that filing date, our appointment of arbitrator should take place. So this is the first thing. Then there are timelines fixed on the actual hearings and finalization of the award. The circular says that from the date of appointment of arbitrator, within 4 months, arbitration award should be finalized. If suppose that award is not finalized within 4 months, in exceptional cases an extension is granted for 2 months. For that extension, we have to take the permission from MD and CEO of the stock exchange. We have to give the reason for extension. I must tell you there are very few cases. In last 1 year, there are only 2 cases where we have sought extension. So, by and large, we follow the first timeline, that is 4 months. Then there are there is fee structure which is specified by SEBI under this circular. The fees are collected from both the parties. But if the claim is below 10 lakh and the applicant is client, the client is exempted from making the payment of fees. Because SEBI wanted to, of course, this is the facility which is used mostly by the client, because 95% of the claims are filed by the clients and 5% of the claims are filed by the trading members. So this is the statistics. So for 95% and for the investor friendly, for protecting their rights, SEBI has made this provision. Suppose you win in arbitration. Any applicant who wins, any party who wins in arbitration, that party will get his fees refunded. This is the most important provision which SEBI has introduced. So he will not lose the money if he has not made anything wrong. He is not at fault. Then there is provisions on number of arbitrators. Up to 25 lakh, SEBI has said one arbitrator will hear the matter. And above 25 lakh, panel of 3 arbitrators will hear the matter. Now there is appeal provision. Under this circular itself, these provisions have been introduced. Again, for appeal, SEBI has stipulated the timelines. For appeal also, appointment of arbitrator process should be completed within 30 days. As far as finalization of award is concerned under appeal, it should be completed in 3 months from the date of appointment of arbitrators, and further extension of 2 months can be taken, again with the permission of MD and CEO. So appeal award has to be finalized within maximum 5 months. Here also I am glad to inform you that we are not utilizing this 2 months period at all. All the appeal cases have been finalized within 3 months only. Next one is related to the fees. Now in appeal, fees are collected only from the applicant. Why? Because he is the one who has approached the appeal forum, appellate bench, for either enhancement of his claim or if he is not happy with the original claim itself. So he is the one who wants to take the benefit of this appellate mechanism. So he will only pay the fees. Number of arbitrators have been specified as 3 instead of 5. Earlier there were 5 arbitrators for hearing appeal cases. Now the number has been reduced to 3. Why? Because to handle 5 arbitrators, we have to provide the entire set of all the documents in 7 set of documents were required to be filed by the parties, and that was not convenient. So the number of arbitrators have been reduced to 3 from 5. Now let us come to the provision of this section 34 of Arbitration and Conciliation Act, which I had already dealt with in my earlier slide. A party losing at appeal stage can file petition before Honorable High Court under section 34, which I think you all are aware of this provision. There is a SEBI circular. Under this circular only, SEBI has said that stay shall be granted under section 34 by party, stay shall be obtained by the party under section 34 within 30 days from the receipt of the award. Exchange will hold the operations of the arbitration award for implementation if the party against whom the award has been finalized obtains stay within 30 days from the High Court. Majority of in these cases, the party is trading member and member has to obtain the stay to stay the operations of the award. Apart from this circular of 11th August 2010, as I said, SEBI has periodically reviewed this whole mechanism. and came out with various other circulars and provisions by which they have introduced so many measures, they have policy changes they have brought in, which for which I will just highlight few of those circulars in this slide. On 9th February 2011, SEBI has issued a circular by which the period for filing the arbitration has been extended from 6 months to 3 years. Earlier, any party having claim against any other party has to file the claim within 6 months from the date of arising of claim. On the analysis of data, it is observed that many claims are rejected on this ground, just on this ground. Without going into the merit of the case, the arbitrators have rejected the claims simply because the claim is not filed within 6 months. That was not found to be justifying the process actually, because that is not meeting. This was not meeting the purpose for which arbitration was established. That is the reason why this period has been extended from 6 months to 3 years. Next one is SEBI has issued another circular on 20th of January 2012. This is something which you will not be like, you won't like to hear, but there is a rationale for this. Trading members were restricted from being appointed as arbitrators. This step was taken in order to ensure that there is no even there is no allegation of biasness. Earlier there were some allegations that because members are also arbitrators, there can be decisions which prejudice mind. Just to remove that scope for baseless allegation also, SEBI has come out with this provision whereby all the trading members cannot become the part of arbitrators. Next one is on 7th November 2012, where clients having claims up to 10 lakhs were exempted from fees. This is the investor-friendly measure which they have introduced to protect the interest of small investors who trade on the exchanges. Any client having claim up to 10 lakh is exempted from fee. Now you will ask me, if he is not paying the fee and the award goes in favor of trading member, who will pay the fee? Because I have already said, if the award goes in your favor, even in favor of trading member, the fee will be refunded to the trading member. So in this scenario, exchange pays the fee from its own pocket. Suppose the client files an arbitration for below 10 lakh rupees and he loses. Member wins. Member get his fee refunded. In that scenario, exchange pays the fee to the arbitrator. Next one is very important provision, actually a very important system which SEBI has introduced. This is called Centralized Arbitration Appointment Process, CAP. Now again, why there was a need to introduce this system? This is a web-based program, a web-based system whereby arbitrators are appointed from the common pool of arbitrators. I will just brief you on this CAP system. NSE, BSE and MCX, SX have finalized the list of master arbitrators. NSE have appointed their panel, BSE has appointed its own panel, and MCX, SX has appointed their panel of arbitrators. All the names of these arbitrators are taken into one master. Now, when this master panel of arbitrators will be used by this system, when you file an arbitration, the parties, the exchange invite 3 names each from each of the parties. Suppose the name which applicant has suggested and the names which member has suggested, though both the names are not matching. In that scenario, exchange was earlier appointing its arbiter. SEBI has observed that it is not a correct procedure because there is a scope for favorism. There were allegations that exchanges were appointing their own arbitrators of their choice. To remove that scope, SEBI has introduced a web-based system whereby in that scenario, the arbitrator is selected from the common pool of arbitrators by the system itself, randomly, without knowing who will be selected. There is a logic built in the system by which randomly a name of the person is selected from that. That can be an arbitrator from NSE for BSE arbitration. There will be an arbitrator for NSE arbitration from BSE's panel or MCX panel. Any of the person will be selected. So this is the CAP system which was introduced in 2013. Next one is another landmark circular which was introduced in 26 September 2013, by which client filing appeal has to pay only 10,000. Today, if you are filing an appeal, you have to pay 30,000 as a fee. But if client files that appeal, he has to pay only 10,000 rupees. Balance 20,000 will be paid by BSE and IPF equally. So here again, this is an investor-friendly measure which was introduced by SEBI. In previous slide, I talked about one circular of 26 September, last circular. Now this circular, which was published, issued by SEBI, which I am now talking on this under this slide, is basically connected with the IGRC mechanism. But though it is directly connected with IGRC mechanism, there are so many provisions which are affecting the arbitration processes which are handled in the stock exchanges. I will explain you those provisions which are introduced by SEBI under this circular. Before going to that, I will just give you a brief background on IGRC. As you are aware, IGRC was a conciliatory mechanism for resolving the disputes of clients between with their members. It was just a conciliatory mechanism. IGRC was not having any powers to decide anything on the basis of merit on the matter. But after this circular, SEBI has empowered the IGRC to decide the claim value of the client on the basis of complaint. Under arbitration, we are deciding the claim of the client or the party on the basis of the arbitration claim cases which he is filing. But here, on the basis of mere complaint, IGRC can decide the claim value on the merit of the case. Now once IGRC decides the claim value, there are certain steps which are stipulated under this circular, which as an exchange we have to follow. What is that step is the next step is exchange has to immediately block the amount which is decided by IGRC from the deposit of the member. Next one is TM has to inform within 7 days from the IGRC meeting whether he is filing arbitration against the decision of IGRC. So there is a facility or provision or scope kept for member to challenge the decision. For that purpose, he has to inform stock exchange within 7 days whether he is not agreeing with the decision of IGRC and want to file the arbitration against that decision. In that scenario, exchange will not release that money which is blocked from his deposit to the client. Instead of that, exchange will deposit that money in an escrow, and that money will lie only with the stock exchange. But if the member does not inform me within 7 days, he wants to challenge the decision of IGRC, exchange will release that money on the 8th day to the client. So this is the provision. Suppose member informs me within 7 days that I am going to file the arbitration against this IGRC decision. So in that case, the client who has obtained the decision in his favor at IGRC level suffers. For that purpose, SEBI has made some provision by which he will get some compensation for the time which is going to be spent now in the arbitration process. In order to give him some interim relief, SEBI has said that 50% of the claim value which is decided by IGRC or 75,000 rupees, whichever is less, will be paid from exchange IPF to the client. Now this is very important thing which was introduced by SEBI, whereby clients were paid directly from the IPF. Next step is, if arbitration award goes in favor of client and trading member opts for appeal, positive difference of the 50% of award amount or 1,50,000, whichever is less, and amount already paid to the client from IPF will be paid again from the IPF. So this is the second installment which will be paid to the client from IPF, because trading member is filing an appeal against the award which is in favor of the client. Next step is, if appeal award goes in favor of the client and TM asks for filing petition under section 34 before the court, then the positive difference of 75% of the award amount or 2 lakh rupees, whichever is less, and amounts already paid to the client from IPF as a whole, will be paid from the IPF. So this is the third payment which will be made from IPF, because he will be suffering because of the filing of petition by the member in High Court. Now the matter goes out of the exchange mechanism. Now court will decide the matter on its merit, and after the court gives final order, as per the order, if suppose that order goes in favor of client again, the balance amount is paid from the deposits to the client, and IPF is replenished from the deposit of trading member. The deposit which was initially blocked by the exchange after the decision of IGRC is still there, and it is invested in interest-bearing fixed deposits. So from that money, this distribution will be made when the award reach finality in court proceeding. So this is the very important landmark circular which was issued by SEBI, and because of this, objective parameters have been introduced. Very clearly and precisely it is stipulated how client will get money, even though the whole issue is pending for finality. Because there are provisions for appeal within the stock exchange, then there are provisions for appealing before the court. There are two-tier systems in court, two-tier system in stock exchanges. In that whole process, SEBI has observed that the parties suffer without any fault on his part. So in order to compensate that party against this loss, these are the measures which are introduced by SEBI. And these are practically very difficult to monitor all these things, but we have developed our in-house system to take care of all these cases. Now, most important thing, suppose at any stage, suppose client loses the case, what will happen? For that also SEBI has made provisions. Then there are very strict actions against the client. Action in the sense, if you don't pay the money which is paid from the IPF. Suppose client loses at the stage of appeal in the arbitration, here only, BSE. I have already paid him 75,000 rupees from IPF. He has to refund me that money immediately within 5 days. Within 5 days from I raise the demand. If he don't pay, then what will happen? Then the SEBI has empowered the stock exchange to ask depositories, both depositories, CDSL and NSDL, to go and freeze the demat accounts of that client completely. based on the PAN numbers. That is one thing. Second thing, that client will not be allowed to trade on any of the exchanges in India. How that will happen? On the basis of PAN, we will put him in the debarred entity, and our surveillance system will block that PAN for trading. So he will not be able to trade anywhere, any stock exchange in India, till the time he refund that money to the IPF. So this is how the provisions are made balanced. They are balanced in the sense, if you are right, you are protected. If you are wrong, you have to pay the money. Now, as a stock exchange, it is not only that award is finalized and our job is over. Because it is quasi-judicial process, as I explained you earlier, the implementation of the award is also the responsibility of stock exchange. The responsibility has been put on the stock exchange to ensure that the award which is finalized is implemented. When I say it is implementation and the responsibility of implementation, it is only to that extent where arbitration awards are finalized against trading member, because they are registered with the stock exchanges, they are registered intermediaries, clients are not registered, the exchanges do not have legal purview or jurisdictions over the clients. For that purpose, client members can go under civil proceedings for recovery of their money, because the award which is finalized under in this mechanism is the decree of the court after 90 days. So members can directly go and file an execution application before the court and attach the properties or assets, known assets and properties of the client for recovery of their money. So as far as awards which are finalized against trading member, of course there are deposits available in the accounts of members with the stock exchange, and exchange has to block those monies from the deposits and pay to the client. So this is how the implementation of award takes place. Suppose implementation of award, at what stage exchange will implement the award? Where the appeal award is finalized and client member has not filed petition under section 34 within 90 days from the date of receipt of award, automatically exchange has to release the money to the client. Exchange will not release the money till the expiry of 90 days, because 90 days are provided under law to the trading member to go and approach High Court. So if member brings stay order from the court on the operations of the award within 90 days of the finalization of the award, exchanges will not release the money. If they don't bring, exchange will release the money to the client. This is as simple as that. The amount which we block from the deposit of the member are always kept in fixed deposit, because we ensure that the money is not kept idle. We do treasury management for that, and that benefit goes to the party who wins at the end, because that party gets the money with interest. So we pay entire amount, whatever amount we receive, every single rupee is paid back to the party. Whatever amount is received on that fixed deposit is disbursed to the party. That may be a trading member or client, whoever. Now this is a fee structure which I think you are very much familiar with this. This is available on our website. One aspect I just wanted to highlight in this fee structure, which is very important. You can see if the client is, any party is filing arbitration within 6 months, the amount is very less. But if that same party files the claim after completion of 6 months from the date of arising of claim, there is a heavy penalty on it. Again, this was introduced by SEBI in 2010. To enforce deterrence on the parties who are not filing claims within reasonable time. So this ensures that parties are filing claims as early as possible, approaching the stock exchanges, as early as possible within 6 months. If they come after 6 months, they have to pay this almost double amount. Now you will ask me, if party is paying this amount, extra amount to the stock exchange, what exchange is doing with this extra amount? Is that the scenario that because applicant is filing after 6 months, the arbitrator or the exchange should gain from that? So it is not like that. SEBI has said when parties are filing claims after 6 months and paying this extra money, after finalization of the award, 2/3 of this money will go to IPF. So SEBI has ensured that there should not be undue advantage to the stock exchange or the arbitrators just because party has delayed in filing the case. So that care has been taken by SEBI in this. While structuring this fee, while designing this fee structure, this provision has been made in this 2010 circular. So this is the important part which I would like to highlight in this entire fee structure. As far as service tax is concerned, we collect service tax only on rupees 1,000, which is an institution fee. If you see this structure, there is only 1,000 rupees which is collected by the stock exchange, taken into account of the stock exchange as an institution fee. And as per the service tax rules, I can charge service tax only on the money which I am taking it as my income. So 14.5% is charged only on 1,000 rupees, because the rest of the amount is refunded back to the parties. Now, just to give you an idea about the statistics, how people are filing the claims, in which category, and what is the result coming out. If you see, I have taken the 3 years data. In 13-14, there are 114 arbitration cases filed. Out of that, 67 were filed by client. 67 were filed by client and 47 by member. Next year in 2014-15, you will see there is phenomenal increase in the number of cases, 516, 545. This is an exceptional scenario. Why? Because one big member was declared defaulter in this period. And you are aware of that member, that is Unicorn Securities Private Limited. There were 472 arbitration claims which were filed against this one particular member. So in this 545, 472 arbitration awards are pertaining to this member only. So this is an exceptional phenomenon. Next year in 2015-16 up to 31st December 2015, total 192 cases are filed. Again, clients have filed 169 cases. These cases also includes the claims against Unicorn only. Because there is a law of limitation applied, 3 years period is given to the clients of Unicorn to file the cases. So he is declared defaulter in September 2014, 10th September 2014. So clients can come up to 3 years and file their claims. So this is how the statistics shows. Out of the arbitration cases which are filed by clients, only in one case, if you see 13-14, total 26 cases were filed by client, and only in one case, the arbitration award was finalized in favor of member. "32 cases were dismissed. So out of total 67 cases, 32 cases were dismissed. So the percentage of dismissing the award is almost 50%. Why? Because parties are not able to provide the proper documentary evidences supporting their claims. On merit, they are not filing the claims on concrete evidences. That is the reason why the rate or percentage of dismissal is almost 50%. So if you see these statistics, majority of the client, almost 90% of the claims are filed by clients, and the rest of 5% are filed by the members. So this is how the whole arbitration mechanism works. I hope you will have find this presentation interesting, though this subject is little bit boring. However, this is important from day-to-day operations. Because members are concerned with the arbitration mechanism, I get a lot of queries and lot of phone calls on the various aspects of this arbitration from the members. And we do reply to those mails, queries as promptly as possible from our side. So if you have any queries, you can ask me. I have finished the presentation. Thank you very much. Yeah, tell me. Yeah, tell me.
I'm Sujit here with Kotak. Actually, this is arbitration amendment. There is section 9 you referred actually about the High Court.
Yeah.
Actually, now, if I am not incorrect, the section 17 is amended now.
Yeah.
And I request, I think the BSc arbitrator also given the same power as like section 9 to the arbitrator.
No. Arbitrators have been given powers, have continued with the powers which were given earlier under section 9. See, this entire arbitration mechanism which is conducted in stock exchanges is under the general provisions of Arbitration and Conciliation Act. The general provisions are applied to the arbitration which is conducted at the stock exchanges. These are the only 4 sections which deal with the arbitration specifically which is conducted in stock exchange. So the powers remain the same. I am not understanding what exactly you want to ask.
About the recent amendment in Arbitration Act. The recent amendment which came, I think, before 4 months earlier. Where section 17 is amended actually. As regard the same power, I think the same was given to the arbitrator also.
No, that is not the case. Arbitrators are continuing with the same powers which were given under section 9 to them.
Another my question is actually as regard the implementation of award.
Okay.
You have said that BSc has no power on the client. When in case we filed arbitration for recovery. We are sometimes, it's not the case that we have filed arbitration in execution we get a recovery. Because sometimes the client is not contactable, his change his place and is not contactable. Lots of cases we are still pending of Uttarakhand. We are not able to file recover that amount.
Correct.
There is one bylaws in BSc which is 232A and B.
I know.
In this, the BSc has no power. Like in case of IPF, when BSc has power to divert that client and block his demat account, not allowing to open a new demat account and everything. Why the BSc or BSc forum is not taking any initiative in favor of member to recover the default client?
Yes.
Because section 232A and B, both of BSc bylaws, is given, I think, power to BSc.
You are right.
Because BSc you have no power, that's why.
Correct. Section 232, bylaw 232 says that suppose that same client is a client, registered client with some other trading member, that trading member can block his amount. Correct? If there is a credit balance in his ledger account, that member has to block that amount and should not release that credit balance. Or if that member is having any securities, he has to. There is a recent case whereby a member has approached us on this invocation of bylaw 232, and we are examining that. I am telling you, practically this bylaw is not implemented so far. Though there are provisions in the bylaw, practically there are certain difficulties, and we have highlighted this issue just recently, in last month, to SEBI, how to operationally go on this issue. We have taken note of this. Already we are working on that. We are in discussion with SEBI on implementation of this bylaw. So we are awaiting, we have sought certain information or guidance from SEBI on implementation part of this bylaw. There are certain other effects related to this implementation of this provision. For that purpose, we are seeking clarification from SEBI, and then we will come out with the exact circular on that.
Expected time?
I cannot commit anything expected. We are continuously following up. It's hardly 22 days back we have taken up this issue with SEBI.
I think it's an old issue which I raised.
I know this is an old issue, but first time one member has invoked that practically.
In 2012 and 13 only we have sent a letter to BSE broker forum, and before earlier was one of the broker.
Correct.
We have sent a letter to NSE, BSE broker, so we have not got any revert on this. But I think it's a very long time, it's 2 or 3 years already.
Definitely we will take up this issue again with, means I can just take this issue with our higher ups and see how we can go ahead on this issue. But we are definitely working on that, and we know about this provision. Because second thing, what you were saying, you are not able to go and execute the arbitration award, correct? Actual through court proceeding, correct? So for that, there is a recent amendment in the procedure, in the court proceeding, which I know. If somebody files the execution application, the court has to take action or give relevant orders within 6 months. Your petition will be heard or taken care of, or it will be, a decision will be given within 6 months. Provided you are giving the concrete data and information about their whereabouts and assets. If you are having anything, if suppose you are having the information about the credit balance lying in the account of that member, that client, any other member or anything, even that can be given. Yes, I know that is before going to the court, it is stock exchange which has to take care of this aspect. That is well taken, it is well accepted. But still I am telling you, if you are having the information about this credit balance, say with another member, that will be formed part of his asset. That will be taken as his asset by the court and will be attached.
But sir, I wanted to ask one question.
Yeah.
If client is not having any money or he is declared as a bankrupt, then what will we do? I mean,
That client,
if you go for the execution in court, and if the client is not having any money, I mean, he is a bankrupt.
then
again,
there is a problem. There is a problem.
And it's a paper decree.
Yeah. That is,
I mean, there is
it
no
is
way.
just a provision which is given under the law, but actually practically you will not get money in your account.
Exactly.
That is true.
And this is happening in so many cases where client is not having a single money, and we
That
find
is
the
true.
case and we won the case. I mean, it's a paper decree award.
See, it is true in other way around also. If suppose today Unicorn is declared defaulter, 14 crores is the total liability of all clients cumulative. They have not got single rupee because that member is declared defaulter. From Investor Protection Fund, we are making payment up to rupees 15 lakh, only to the claims which are finalized through the arbitration mechanism. Rest of the claims or those who are filed after 120 days from the date of declaration of defaulter are not paid, because we issue public notice immediately on the day of declaration of defaulter that we specify the period 120 days in which client has to come and file the claim. If he come after on 121st day, that his claim is rejected, because somewhere we have to stop now. This is true in other, that is what I am saying. When the party goes bankrupt, that is a business loss. Means this is, you can't help it. It is a business loss. But till the time he is having asset and he is very much solvent, I am just explaining you the provisions which are available in the law. And what he has said is something which is under the purview of the stock exchange. So that will be taken care of.
Sir, I wanted to ask one question. Suppose if client has filed a claim against me as a member, okay, and till the timing he is not having any dispute. The moment he get a loss, he filed an arbitration before the exchange, and I have submitted everything like the SMS, quarterly statement, and everything. And if I submitting before the arbitrator, then he is asking, do you have any authorization of trade? Like, do you have any voice recording? So my question is that if exchange is sending an SMS to the client on daily basis, even as a broker I am sending the SMS, ledger confirmation, trade confirmation, then they are asking to prove that whether it is an authorization of trade. I mean, sir, what is the meaning? I mean, if client is receiving everything on daily basis, he is ignoring. I mean, he is also responsible for executing trade in his account. He is investing his money.
Correct.
I mean, sir, what is your view on that?
I will tell you that. See, this what the issue which you have raised is correct, practical issue which we face during arbitration. What you are talking about is related to the unauthorized transaction claims.
Yes, sir.
Correct? Now in unauthorized transaction, you are saying that I have sent SMS and email to the client the moment I executed the trade in his account. Issue is not that. What he is saying, that before executing the trade, he has not taken my permission. Because what you are sending is the post-trade. What exchanges are sending is the post-trade. I am sending from exchange system also the SMS and email goes to the client.
No, sir, it is not like that. If client is calling through mobile, or he is calling to the dealer on mobile or sending a message.
Correct.
And thereafter I don't have the record. Then how I can prove that it is authorized trade?
For that purpose, I just tell you something. In one of the meetings held with SEBI, this issue was discussed, Investor Association meeting. Every member, as a matter of precaution, should have voice recording facility in their dealing room. Or the people who are handling the trade, who are actually taking the orders from the clients, at least their conversation should be recorded. But SEBI has not accepted that as a mandatory thing and not enforced on the brokers. Why? Because many brokers have said it will be administratively difficult for them to install the voice recording facilities in each and every office. Because they are having offices spread across the country. And there are people, relationship managers who are taking orders on behalf of clients. To keep the voice recording facility at each and every place is not practically feasible. That is what members have submitted. Now I will tell you, in order to avoid this situation, we have advised whoever approaches to de facto on suo motu basis, you keep your voice recording facilities. Because that is give you protection during the arbitration. Because if you have recording, that client cannot deny. Second thing, on the basis of recording, arbitrators are giving the awards by taking there are many brokers who are producing the CDs, voice recording CDs during arbitration, and that is considered. And on the basis of that, the claim is rejected. So it is in your interest to have voice recording, though it is not made mandatory by SEBI. That is what I can tell you.
But sir, if I take an example of subbroker or authorized person, I mean they are saying I don't have that much capacity to install the voice recording.
That is the problem.
So that is the problem. So major of the cases comes because of the subbroker,
Exactly. So in that case, you should have some alternative measure kept in or checks and balance in your office. Some system should be there in your office, alternative to this voice recording, by which you can prove that yes, this client has given the order. Suppose that client is giving. See, who are these clients who actually filing arbitration? They are not filing for small claims. I am telling you.
Big claims.
The claims which are filed for unauthorized transactions are always big amount. That means they are the big clients for you. And you must be aware, you should develop some system in your office, back office, by which you should identify those clients and their orders, and you should have some alternative mechanism. That is the only solution. You should have, because finally you have to protect your side in the arbitration.
So one more thing I wanted to point out, if suppose client file an arbitration after 2 years, and between that period I have sent a 8 times statement, quarterly statement, when I have mentioned if in any case of discrepancy, please contact us. I mean that will,
Yes, that goes in your favor. Of course, that goes in favor, and it has gone. Arbitrators are considering that communication in between. There are so many awards given on the basis of this.
That is what.
Of course, this is taken in your favor.
Yes, sir.
When you are sending the quarterly statements and client is not reverting, or in between client is making some payment.
Okay. He is
In
making
between there
payment,
is debit
receiving
balance
payment.
and client is settling that debit balance. If you produce that proof, that goes in your favor.
Okay, sir. Thanks.
Anything else? So thank you very much.
Sir, in case the case gets dismissed,
What?
in case any case gets dismissed, what about the fees? Will the fees be refunded or not?
Correct. The moment award is dismissed, technically this is not an award. Any party in whose favor the award is given, that party gets the fee refunded. So in that case, if both the parties have paid the fee, suppose the claim is below 10 lakh and that claim gets dismissed, okay, the trading member will get the money back. If suppose the claim is above 10 lakh, then in that case, anyway member has to pay the fee. Client has already paid the fees above 10 lakh, so that the money which was paid by the client is paid to the arbitrators. And in that scenario also, the trading member will get the money back.
In case the client has filed an arbitration and he withdraws the case, in that case also the member will get this refund?
In case of withdrawal, yes, there is a refund. There is a refund because he is actually withdrawing the case. Yes, you are right.
So one more thing I wanted to ask. Suppose if I don't want to approach arbitration and I want to approach the court through somebody's own, is it possible for me or it's commanded?
See, I will tell you. I have explained you section 9. Section 9 says about the interim reliefs. Okay. But if you ask me, can you go to the court and directly obtain the final order for getting final order? Then what the courts are doing, you can do that. Nobody will stop you from filing the petition. But court will give an order whereby they will remand back the matter back to the arbitration.
Okay, they will say you invoke the arbitration.
Exactly. They will say you first exhaust that facility and then come to court.
Okay.
There are many orders on this. There are many orders whereby the court has referred back the matters to arbitration. Those you are directly. So, anything else?
So, if an investor files an arbitration case within 6 months, it will be 10,000 fees. Within 6 months, it will be 10,000.
10,000 what?
When the claim amount is below 10 lakhs and an investor files an arbitration, the fees will be 10,000.
Okay, correct.
And then if after 6 months, it will be 30,000. So that is initially deposited from the trading member. So, sir, I just wanted to know if the client is sleeping over his rights and filing claims,
absolutely,
then why the
good
trading
question.
member has to suffer?
Exactly. There is an anomaly here. Because client is filing after 6 months, member is punished. Correct? Because member is also have to pay this higher amount. And that we have taken up just now. Inspection is going on, SEBI inspection, and this aspect is taken with SEBI. And let me tell you, there is some restructuring going on right now of this fees, entire fee structure. And in that, this aspect is considered. We have highlighted specifically this issue. Just because on the client is filing after 6 months, there is a fault on his part, member is punished. Member has to pay higher amount. Why member has to pay for the fault of client? That we have taken up, and this fee structure is, you will see that in near future, this structure is going to be changed. And this aspect is taken there.
So one more question. So I'll just go back to the investor proceedings, investor grievances proceedings.
Yeah.
So in case of unauthorized claims, don't you think right now when these conciliation proceedings are empowered to make claims against a trading member, when it comes to especially unauthorized trade, don't you think that 1.5 or 2 hours slot time is not enough to give a judgment on unauthorized trades?
Correct. See, earlier, before this circular, we were scheduling 11 to 12 cases in a day. IJSA meeting is conducted for a full day. It starts at 10:30 and ends at 5 o'clock. Now what we have done? We have reduced those 12 cases to 4. Why? Because IJSC has to actually give value time on each of the case, just like arbitration. What you are saying is absolutely correct. Even suppose you are saying even this time, 1.5 hour, I think it's quite sufficient time for parties to present their case, even though it is unauthorized transaction. Nobody has ever submitted that, represented that. This is first time I am hearing from you that 1.5 hour is also not sufficient. If that is the case and we get representations from the parties on this issue particularly, we will definitely reduce further cases. If there are unauthorized transaction claims, we can keep only 2 cases in a day. That we can definitely do on that. But as of now, we have not received any such presentation or submission from any of the party that the time is so short that the IGRC member cannot decide the matter on merit. Because what we have done now, as far as IGR's unauthorized transactions are concerned, we have prepared one checklist. There are 4 or 5 things which have to be obtained from the parties. That is what we have decided. If these 4 or 5 things are there in place, the job of IGRC member becomes very easy. So we ensure that these 4 documents are there in place. If any party is not able to produce these documents, either from the member or from the client, the claim is decided easily. That is not the issue. And we have not come across this situation like this. But if we receive the representations from many people, we can think about reducing these cases further to give more time and more quality time on these cases. So that is possible. Okay? Thank you very much.
One more question.
Yeah.
So, in case of IGRC order passed against the member and member want to challenge it, what will be the procedure? Member has to make the client party because
yes, member has to file arbitration.
Member don't have any claim against the client.
No, it will be claim against you will file arbitration against the IGRC decision.
So he has to make the party to the
You will make the party client as a party, and on the claim statement you will say you are filing claim arbitration case against the decision of IGRC.
So in short, it is the appeal against the IGRC.
It is the appeal against the decision of IGRC.
There are certain arbitration awards also. Means arbitrator has noted down that they don't have any right to judge the IGRC order.
There is not a single.
No, there are.
Can you show me?
Yeah, I can show you. That is NAC order.
No, not possible.
Yes, there is.
Arbitrators are, I have explained to you, they are more powerful than IGRC member because they have got statutory.
They are both separate proceedings.
Absolutely. See what will happen now. You will defend your case on merit again in arbitration. Against the IGRC decision, it is not simply, you will not just simply file an arbitration. When you will file the arbitration during the hearing, you will defend your case on merit. That how that IGRC member has made mistake in giving the decision. You have to prove that. If you are not able to prove that, again the arbitration award will go against you.
So in short, we have to file like a statement of appeal.
It is a normal arbitration claim, a form 1A which you have to file. There is one form 1 which every applicant has to file. You have to just file that. And during the hearing, you have to defend your case on the basis of merit. Again, the decision of IGRC. You have to prove the IGRC member wrong.
Okay, one more thing, sir.
Yeah.
Under section 27 of Arbitration Act, means the parties can seek the court assistance for taking evidence on record. So anything their exchange means the trading member can get a remedy under this section, can seek the court assistance.
See, that is again the provision under the Act, provisions. These are the arbitration which is conducted at BSE is under rules, bylaws, regulations, governed under rules, bylaws, regulations which are statutory in nature. So what provision you are talking about is a provision under the Act when you go to the court and then there this provision will be applied. As far as stock exchange is concerned,
but we can get the permission of arbitrator for seeking the assistance of court for taking the statement of any person or not.
Yes, that is possible. In the court proceeding, we produce the documents. When the question of producing the document evidences come, we give the certified true copy of the entire arbitration file in court. Whatever evidence related to that matter is with stock exchange, that is produced in the court. though we are not the party to the petition.
No, it's not court proceeding, it is arbitration proceeding only, but we are seeking the assistance of court in the arbitration proceeding.
That is provided in section 9.
No, that is 27 also.
Yeah, that is possible. Yes, you can do that.
So we can, before the arbitrator, we can put the petition that we need the assistance of court for recording any evidence.
No. See, here there is a difference. Then for that purpose, stock exchange secretarial assistance is there. Stock exchange authority is there, under which this entire arbitration is going on. That is not possible, and that has not been done in any single case so far. Not a single case of this kind.
So
that is not possible, and that is not required also. That is not going to add anything to you or help you anything in any manner. You defend your case on merit and get the award here. No need to ask court to intervene under section 27.
But if there is case against the sub-broker and the authorized person, then we want their statement to taken on oath then.
Arbitrators will take that on record. No? Whatever you are submitting, even you can make them party. You can ask those associate AP or sub-broker to, you can summon them, or arbitrator can summon them to remain present in the meeting. They can call. Arbitrators have powers to summon them.
But client is majorly filing the cases against the broker only. They are not making party.
Correct, because after 2004 the sub-broker concept has gone. Direct UCC is there. Unique Client Code. From 1st April 2004 there is no sub-broker. So you are directly, the privity of contact is between the client and the member directly. There is a UCC, Unique Client Code now. Earlier the trading members were dealing, the clients were dealing through sub-broker. Now they are directly dealing, they are getting the contract note issued by the member directly. So there is privity of contract between client and yeah.
Suppose member don't act, the money is released to the investor. So what is the chance of member?
What one? I just come in.
90 days period is there. Under section 34. Within 90 days if a member don't act, the money is released to the investor.
Correct.
So any chance of a member?
No chance.
Petition file?
No chance. Because already you have 90 days plus 30 days. There is a grace period is also allowed of 30 days. 90 plus 30, actually 4 months to go and file a petition. If you have not done that, there should be a logical end to every process. No, sir. So exchange is also answerable to somebody, and they have to release, because client is behind exchange to release the money. No? So it is a balanced mechanism. You cannot work in arbitrary manner or in favor of one party. Fair chances are given to both the parties, fair ground is given. Whoever wins, the decision is in their favor.
No chance of delay?
Absolutely no chance, because we have to release the money if you are not filing within 90 days. You can give me a petition lodgement number on 90th day's morning and say that I have filed. No problem. We will not release the money.
Section 34, there is one section, 33 or 34. There is some provision.
For what?
Few cases are there at Cochin courts, whereas advocate is filed in district court in this certain cases.
You can approach any court of jurisdiction. I am telling not only High Court. Under Section 34, you can go to any district court also and obtain the stay. Of course, there are people who are obtaining the orders from district courts, and we are taking that as a stay, and we are not releasing the money. So that is not the problem.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
On behalf of BSE Brokers Forum, I would like to thank you, Mr. Ravindra Palande, for presenting such a wonderful presentation and clear the issue related arbitration mechanism. Now I call upon stage Mr. Harin Mehta, board member of BSE Brokers Forum, to present Momento. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
उनको बैग दे दे।